Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Consensus.
So, consensus. You all chose clip 1.
Watch it be 2.
And you are all...
Would you be able to tell the difference between streaming a video versus watching it on a 4K disc? That is the question that we are going to test today. So there is a constant, I wouldn't call it a debate, but it's definitely a discussion of streaming versus discs, physical media. And the consensus, or rather the general idea seems to be that discs are better because they have less compression and it's higher bit rate and it's more reliable. It's not as prone to, a slow internet connection or no internet connection, and you own it and it's always there. But the question that I wanted to ask is, on a blind test where you watch 2 clips of the same movie, one streaming, one from a disc, could you tell the difference? So that's what we're going to do today. I have assembled 3 people who are going to watch clips from 4 different movies. And I have randomly ordered the clips so that they'll watch the first one and then the second one, and it's random as to which one is streaming and which one is the disc. They don't know, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they react to it. Now, the 4 movies are Ready Player One, Mad Max, Fury Road, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship, and the final one is Blade Runner 2049. And I've assembled short clips from each movie that they can then watch streaming, disc, back to back. And then they choose which one they think is best based on video quality and sound quality. And they'll be watching the clips here in my theater.
So, starting with you, Forrest, what did you think of the clips? Like, what was your overall impression of deciding which one you thought was better?
It was really hard for me to make a determination.
Okay. On all 4 clips, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I found myself watching each one and saying, like, ooh, that is really good. And then I watched the next one and I'm like, that was really good.
Yes, I also had the same problem. I was really surprised by how similar they were. I was not expecting it. I thought there would be more of a difference between the clips, but it was like, oh, that was really good. And then, oh, that was also really good. Yeah.
So I feel like I'm probably going to embarrass myself because every time I was like, just within listening to a few seconds, but I was pretty sure I knew which one was better. Even when I was listening to the first one, I was like, this is going to be the better one. And then I would hear the second one and I was like, yep, the first one was better. Like, every time I felt pretty confident within just a few seconds. So now I'm going to get the answers wrong and I'm going to be embarrassed, I'm sure.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay. All right. Okay. Where did anything stand out to you? Was there any particular scene where a particular sound element or video element really stood out to you as like really good? Like you looked at it and you're like, that's the better one. Was there any, or was it pretty much just across the board like everything?
In Lord of the Rings, that one I felt pretty confident in. I think the first clip was blurrier a little bit, and the audio was better in the second one. But I might be that just might be me thinking I know what I'm talking about. But I thought that it was pretty clear. Okay. But I might be wrong. Okay.
So the only one that like made me wonder. So on Blade Runner 2049, the very end of that clip where he's walking through the mist.
Yeah.
I wondered on the second one if I saw like some lines in that mist.
Oh, okay.
But I don't remember what was in the first one. So I'd have to like see that side by side to see if there was a. But that I was like, oh, that's something that I can latch on to and say like maybe it was the first one that was better.
Okay.
That's the other
Okay.
thing. Like, I think if I had them side by side and played them like side by side and was able to go back and forth between each clip and compare little things, I could probably figure it out. But that's like, like if the differences are so minute that you can't even pick it. If the differences are so minute that you can't even figure it out watching the clips side by side like 2 minutes apart, then it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me it makes me think, man, they're so good. They're both so good. And maybe you could, like you're saying, maybe you could see those differences, but you would literally have to watch them side by side.
Yeah,
And when do you
yeah.
ever do that?
Yeah.
I was surprised at how good they both were.
Yeah.
There wasn't
Yeah.
a more obvious distinction between them. I did think that for Ready Player One and Lord of the Rings specifically, the picture quality was a little bit more noticeably different for me. Than, like, Mad Max, obviously, for a lot of the time there wasn't really a picture. And then when it came on, it wasn't anything super visually spectacular. And same thing for Blade Runner, like, they both looked really good, and I couldn't tell as much, but I felt like for those other two movies, for Ready Player One and Lord of the Rings, I could see a lot of difference in the visual quality.
Okay.
Or I thought I could.
Yeah,
Okay, you
that's
thought
the
you
thing. You think you can, but it's so subtle that it might just be your brain tricking you into thinking it.
Yeah.
But I agree, for Ready Player One and for Lord of the Rings, I thought I could actually tell a difference with Mad Max. I could not. I tried so hard to see if there were any visual differences with Mad Max, and I could not pick up on anything.
So in Mad Max, there's the part where he drives down,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's quiet, and then the other car. No, I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
the
sorry.
car launches over.
We
overhead.
had two movies or clips where the car. So I'm actually thinking of the last one, Blade Runner,
Oh, okay.
where it's kind of quiet, and then the car kind of flies over the top.
Okay.
And in one of them, I think that part was like a little bit more intense.
Okay.
But maybe it just surprised me because it was the first one.
Okay. All right. Any last thoughts before we give your answers?
Actually, sorry, I didn't know that. I felt like in Mad Max, in the very beginning, when you're hearing the different voices come through all the different channels, that was really cool. But in one of them, in the first clip, I felt like the quality of the echo was a little bit different. It sounded more like an echo than just a voice coming from a distinctive place, if that makes sense. It felt like the voice was in like a wide open space more than just it's over there, you know?
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Audio
Okay.
quality, there was a depth of field.
So I felt
And
like
you're saying, okay, and you
it
thought
had a really nice like echoey quality.
The
where it
first
was
one or the
supposed to.
second one?
In the first clip.
the first clip, and this was on Mad Max?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay. All right.
So I'm curious how we all, like, if we chose the same thing, if we chose differently. I mean,
Yeah.
Differently.
Yeah.
All
right.
As will your
Oh,
viewers.
sorry.
I think they'll be curious.
They'll be curious. So, any last thoughts before we go to the answers?
I don't know. Lord of the Rings, I feel like
We can also discuss after you get the answer.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. So, starting with the first one, which was
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One, which clip was better, Forrest? 1 or 2?
So, I said clip 1.
How confident are you in that answer?
Not very.
Not very.
No,
Okay.
and the reasons where I said the video might have been slightly clearer,
Okay.
and the sound was just like somewhat more crisp.
More crisp.
Those were my reasons.
Okay. So you're very low confidence, but it was a slight difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Melanie.
I also chose clip 1, and I thought that the picture was probably the most noticeable difference.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought that the sound was maybe a little bit fuller.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have a really good
Vocabulary.
when it comes to describing sounds.
Okay. Ironic. Okay. Samantha.
I also said clip 1. I think the picture was a little bit clearer, but other than that, I mean, the audio held up. I think it was a little better in clip 1, but again, it was really hard to pick up on. I had to pay really close attention to it to even pick up on that difference. So
Okay. Okay.
Well,
All right.
consensus.
So, consensus. You all chose clip 1.
watch it be 2.
And you are all correct.
Wow.
You are all correct.
Okay.
I knew we were
Dis-
going to be correct.
Disc,
Knew it.
Ready Player One, clip 1 was the disc.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Clip 2, which was Mad Max.
Yeah.
Forrest, starting with you.
Okay. So I said clip 2
Okay.
and said the sound seemed slightly more intense. But I will say that as I watched clip 1, I thought, wow, this is a great picture on clip 1.
Okay. So you kind of you were leaning towards picture on clip 1, but you were leaning towards sound on clip 2.
Yeah, and I ultimately circled clip 2.
You ultimately circle. How confident are you in that?
Well, once again, not very.
Not very confident. Okay. Okay. Melanie, which one did you choose?
I actually chose clip 1 for Mad Max.
Okay.
For the reason that I described mostly was that echoey quality I felt like was just a little bit more clearly defined.
Okay.
And I couldn't really tell a difference in the pictures for those two.
Okay. So you want.
So it was based pretty much just on sound.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
I
So
felt pretty confident about that. And now I'm feeling like
So
I'm about to embarrass
so
myself.
you chose clip 1 based on sound, and you chose clip 2 based on sound.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, Samantha.
I
Tiebreaker.
I have never seen that clip before, so when it first played, I was like, wow, the sound design is so cool. This is incredible. And then they played the second clip, and I was like, oh, shoot, the sound design is just really incredible. So I tried focusing more on picture, and I my exact words were, couldn't be sure. More grain in the first? Question mark, question mark, question mark. IDK. So
A lot of comments.
yeah. I really didn't know with this one. It looked really good and it sounded really good in both. I ended up circling clip 2, but I don't know.
Clip 2. Okay.
The part where he eats the lizard is gross in both ways.
Yeah.
It's gross in both.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have 2 for 2 and 1 for 1.
Yes.
And
Wait. Oh, sorry.
We.
Oh, yeah, okay.
2 chose 2, 1 chose 1. And the answer is 1.
There you go.
Yeah.
What?
It was 1.
Face.
Okay, that is so interesting. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to clip 3. Clip 3 was Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Okay, Forrest. Which one did you choose and why?
Wow, I did not take very good notes, but
No IDK in
I
there?
said clip 2. IDK question mark question mark question mark. I said clip 2.
Okay.
Clip 1 when we started that one. In clip 2 we actually got a little bit more, so I don't know if it was totally fair.
Interesting.
It's true.
And so in clip 1 it started in a frame that I think was slightly blurry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's like right there at Frodo.
I did
Like
clock
the
blurry
picture.
flame
The
and
picture was blurry when it shouldn't have been, or the picture itself is actually supposed to be blurry.
I think the frame itself is just a little bit blurry.
In
Potentially.
and
Because-
which clip?
because-
Clip 1 or clip 2?
Well, it's in both.
Oh, it's
in the movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because it's like in the second one we saw he's looking down the road and the road
yeah.
like it's like a I don't know how
yeah.
they do that visual effect, but it's
like
really
a
cool.
dolly zoom.
And we got that one in the second one.
Okay.
And then it goes to Frodo and it's like this, and I think he's just slightly blurry in that exact moment, and that's where we started clip 1.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe that tainted it, and then that's why I chose clip 2.
So you chose clip 2.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Melanie, which one did you?
I also chose clip 2.
Okay.
Like I said, I think the picture was just slightly clearer, a little bit sharper, and there were also more sounds that I noticed, like when the wraith jumps off the horse. That sound was really, I don't know, was a really big sound.
I agree. I also did clock that.
There was a part where he sniffs the air, and I don't remember hearing that in the first clip, but it stood out to me in the second clip when I watched the second time. Also, the bugs crawling all over. There were a lot of little sounds that I picked up in that clip that I didn't really notice in clip 1.
So it sounds like you're pretty confident in selecting clip 2.
I felt pretty confident every time, so.
Okay. All right. Go
Winning
ahead.
streak.
Go ahead, Samantha.
I also chose clip 2. I think the picture was clearer. In the first clip, before we even watched the second one, I was like, I think this is streaming. I think this one is the worst option because the picture wasn't as good. And then we watched the second one, and I remember seeing the shot of like the horse's hoof, and it was like really clear, and I didn't notice it in the first clip.
I will say that exact moment with the hoof.
Yeah.
Because you see like all the goo and hair and stuff
like,
on it.
You see a little bit more. It was just more crisp. Yeah. In that exact one.
And again with the audio, like there were, I noticed like a lot of the sounds a lot better, and it felt like fuller in that way because you could hear little things that I didn't notice in the first clip.
So it sounds like you're all fairly confident. Like you were able to pinpoint very specific reasons why you chose clip 2, and you all chose clip 2.
We did all choose clip 2.
The answer is clip 2.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Last clip. Blade Runner. Forrest. Hit us. What did you choose?
Okay, so clip 1.
You chose clip 1.
Yeah,
Okay.
but this one was really hard.
Okay.
This one was really hard. There was one moment where, like, there's so much bass in that first scene.
Yeah.
And there was one moment in the first one where I was like, is the subwoofer, like, rattling?
Yeah.
Like, I wondered if there was, like, some... Like, it's bumping up against something rattling.
Uh-huh.
And then I did not hear that on the second one.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Rattles are typically bad.
Well,
But
Fair enough.
No.
But it was a difference.
No. What I'm saying is it's funny that something that you try to avoid is, like, giving you an indication of, like, the signal that's going to it.
Right.
That. Yeah.
And then I think that car, and I mentioned this before, but that car flying over, the first one, it was kind of like a shock, like, whoa.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because I just watched the clip, but then the second one, it like, I don't didn't have the same effect.
Okay. All right. Melanie?
I also chose clip 1, but I agree that this was the hardest one for me to decide. There was a sound, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it felt like an aircraft that went like that flew across from like one side of the theater to the other that I didn't hear in the second clip. So that was kind of the tip to me. And I also noted like that rattly, intense bass, but I wrote it down for the second clip. So, and you were saying you noticed it more in the first one.
Yeah, interesting.
That's funny.
So
yeah, that is a bass heavy scene.
Yes.
So you chose clip 1.
I chose clip 1.
Okay, Samantha, what did you choose?
I also chose clip 1. I think the picture was a bit clearer in the first one, actually.
I did think I couldn't tell if it was just in the second one or maybe I just didn't notice it in the first one. But in the second one, where he's like holding the grubs, I was like, I don't remember it being blurry the first time I saw that. It was a little bit.
Yeah, so that shot, and also, how do I describe it? The shot where it's like all of the windows, it's like the second shot or something, and it's like kind of dizzying if you look at it too long.
With like the big huge ceiling with all of the
that I
on
think that it was clearer in the first clip.
It's interesting that you both mentioned the grubs because like I saw that in the first one, and then in the second one I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look closely at this one, and I was like, dang, they're both really good.
It's true. They're both really
felt
good. We
like
act
that one did not distinguish anything for me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we say, oh, this was more blurry or whatever, but really, the picture and audio is incredible in both.
Well, it's hard to know too. Like when you see something that's a little bit blurred, if it's a creative choice or if it's picture quality.
Low resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
And that's where watching them like multiple times, you know, Like doing this again, if it's like, okay, you all have to watch these clips like
Right.
7 times and write down things, and now we're going to go, watch them.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. All right. So the last final one, you all chose clip 1.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The answer is clip 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
I went 4 for 4.
You
You
went
went
Wow.
4 for 4.
What do I win?
Mad Max.
free sub.
That is interesting.
So there were 16 choices. No, not 16 choices. There were 12 choices, right? Like each one of you made 4 choices.
Yeah, there were only 2 incorrect. We were 12.
10 for 12.
10 for 12.
So you guys guessed correctly 10 out of 12.
Yeah.
There were only 2 of you incorrectly guessed on Mad Max.
Both of us on the same one.
And tell you if that's statistically.
I think our sample size of 3 might throw off your
it makes
calculation.
it not work.
Yeah.
But I could do it pretending it works.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So after seeing the results, I have a few thoughts. One, it is very interesting to me that out of 12 guesses, so each person made 4 guesses on 4 clips, so 3 people, 12 guesses. Out of 12 guesses, they got 10 of them right. 10 out of 12. That, I mean, it's a very small sample size, so this is not a statistically sound experiment, but I do think that's interesting. They were able to identify with that high level of precision the disc versus the streaming. I think that's very interesting. What I also found interesting was how unsure they were with their guesses. I thought that was very interesting that they would pick out things where they'd say, I think that's the disc. I think that one's better, but I'm not too sure. But they had to choose one, and so then they went with that. And ultimately, it did end up being right, 10 out of the 12 times. But it speaks to how close streaming is to disc. It's closer than I would have guessed. Honestly, I was actually kind of surprised that they were able to be that accurate. So at the end of the day, is discs better than streaming? Well, you have a lot of things to take into consideration. You've got the convenience of streaming, ease of access, cost. It's cheaper to stream. It's cheaper to have a Netflix account, but with discs, you get to choose exactly what movies you want to own, and then you own them. And then if your internet goes down, it doesn't matter. You still got your disc. So it really comes down to just what works for you. But I thought this was really interesting to do this test and to see how well people could actually pick out which one is better. So thanks for watching.